we can start chanting. So I will chant and you can repeat. You can Om Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Geetamritaduhe Namaha कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाससे गतासून् अगतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः विहाय कामान् यः सर्वान् पुमांश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः स शान्तिम् अधिगच्छति योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानम् अवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः अहमात्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशयस्थितः अहमादिश्च मध्यं च भूतानामन्त एव च भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम् सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखः क्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः हरिः ओम तत्सत्. Good morning, all of you. So today we are starting this series of talks on Introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So today I will give you an introduction to this series and in general how to read the Gita, how to study the Gita, and how this series is going to be. And if we have time, we will start some of the shlokas also. And the way we will do it is like at different points, I will pause and we will open for questions and then we can continue. So there will be logical points all through where we can pause and we can take questions and then we can proceed. Okay. So let us start. And the slide deck, whatever I'm using, the PDF file will be posted onto the WhatsApp group at the end of every day's session. So you can, you'll get access to this. And the this one, already has been, the link has been posted onto the WhatsApp group. So what I would recommend is that every day you chant this so that you become familiar with the shlokas. This is the series of shlokas that we will study in this course. Okay, fine. So we will start. And so this is my website, practicalphilosophy.in. And so this is a place where you can find sanskritdocuments.org is a place from where you can find all the text for most of the scriptures. So that is where the text is taken from. Okay, fine. So we will start with the Dhyana Shloka. Now, this Dhyana Shloka is one of the 9 Dhyana Shlokas composed by Madhusudana Saraswati, a great Advaita Acharya. So, in his Bhagavad Gita commentary called Gudhartha Deepika, it's a very big book, Gudhartha Deepika, he composed 9 Dhyana Shlokas, and those are very, very popular and used as the standard Gita Dhyana Shlokas. We all know Vasudeva Sutam Devam, that one, Mukam Karoti Vachalam. So all those things are part of the 9 Dhyana Shlokas composed by Sri Madhusudana Saraswati. And this one we will use for this series as the Dhyana Shloka. So we'll chant, you can repeat, and then I'll explain the meaning. Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha. The beauty of this Dhyana Shloka is the entire Gita teaching is condensed in one shloka here. So let us look at it. So it says, Prapanna Parijataya. So Parijata, we all know, right? It's the wish fulfilling tree, Kalpataru, right? So that is the Parijata. And so here the Lord is the Parijata. He is the Kalpataru. So now the question comes like, does he fulfill all our wishes? Yes, he does. Now, whatever we desire for, right, we express as action. Like we may desire so many things, and many of them will be just dreams, some weak desires. Now, whichever is our strong desire, that will manifest as action. We will work towards it. And the Lord is the Karma Phala Data. He is the one who gives the results for all our actions. Right? Whatever actions we do, He is the Karma Phala Data. He is the one who connects the action to the results. So, as Karma Phala Data, He is the Parijata. Right? And Prapanna means devotees. So is he the Karmaphala Data only for devotees? No. He is the Karmaphala Data for everyone. Whoever it is, he is the Karmaphala Data. But the speciality of a devotee is the devotee recognizes that it is the Lord who is the Karmaphala Data. Right? So he is the Parijata, but a devotee is one who acknowledges that whatever actions I do, it is the Lord who gives the results. So that way, a devotee is one who recognizes and acknowledges that the Lord is the Karma Phala Data. Now, this is the gist of Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Whatever actions we do it as an offering to the Lord, and whatever we face in life, we accept them as gifts from the Lord, right? Whatever we do it as gift to the Lord, and whatever happens in our life, we accept as gift from the Lord, as prasada buddhi and Ishvara arpana buddhi. These two are the core of Karma Yoga, and Karma Yoga is condensed is as this quarter shloka, Prapanna Parijataya, right? So Karma Yoga is indicated in this two words, Prapanna Parijataya. Now the second one, Totra Vetraika Panaye, right? So Pana means hand. So we have no Dandapani, Kodandapani, Pinakapani, right? Like Dandapani is one who holds a Danda. Kodandapani is Rama who holds Kodanda. Pinakapani is Shiva who holds the Pinaka bow. So Pani, Pana means hand. Panaye. So in his hand, what is he holding here? Totra Vetraika. So this he's holding a stick which is used to control cows. So here the cows are indicated by our senses and the mind. Okay, our senses and mind are the cows, and one of the names for Krishna is Rishikesha. Rishikesha also means the same thing, the controller of the senses. So here Krishna is the one who is holding the stick that controls the cows. Now, what does this mean? So this indicates dhyana yoga, meditation, and sense control. So dhyana yoga is basically about meditation and sense control, and we all are struggling towards it. So what does Gita teaching say? Gita says you hand over the stick to the Lord. The stick to control the senses and the mind, you hand it over to the Lord. So what do you mean by hand it over to the Lord? You meditate upon the Lord to control your mind, right? So when you want to control your mind, instead of counting your breath, instead of doing some watching your breath, instead of doing such kind of meditations, you meditate upon the Lord in the center of your heart, and by meditating upon the Lord and by chanting his holy name, automatically your mind and senses will come into control. So we involve the Lord and we hand over the control to the Lord. So the Lord is having the stick in his hand, by which, by the help of the Lord, we can control our mind, and by that we can control our senses. which is the essence of Dhyana Yoga. So Totra Vetraika Panaye tells how we can do Dhyana Yoga taking help from the Lord. Okay. Then the third, Jnana Mudraya. So Jnana Mudra is what you can see here. Krishna is holding, right? Like you can see the mudra which Krishna is having. That indicates Jnana. It is called Jnana Mudra. So basically, like the index finger indicates the Jiva, and the three other fingers, right, indicate the Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karna Sharira. So instead of identifying ourselves with the Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karna Sharira, instead of doing that, what do? We separate, we disidentify from them, and the thumb finger indicates the Lord, pure consciousness. We identify with the pure consciousness. So, so the what does Jnana Mudra indicate? Disidentify from the three bodies and identify yourself as pure consciousness, and that is called Jnana. I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not all these karma and all these things. I am not the Jivatma. I am pure consciousness. I am the Swarupa of the Lord Himself. So, this is called Jnana Yoga. This knowledge is the one which is going to free us from all sorrow. So, that is knowledge going to free us from samsara. So, Jnana Mudra indicates this. And Krishna is holding the Jnana Mudra, and Krishna is going to teach us this Jnana. So, Krishnaya, to Krishna, Gita Amrita Duhe Namaha. So, Mrita means death, right? Mrita means death. Amrita means immortality. And that which gives Amrita is also indicated by the word Amrita, the nectar, right? Now, here, Gita is the Amrita, Gita Amrita, right? Gita is the Amrita because Gita is going to give us immortality. How is Gita going to give us immortality? By what we saw in Jnana Mudra, right? By helping us to disidentify from this dying and changing body and identify with the eternal pure consciousness. By that way, we are going to get a knowledge or understanding of our own eternal existing immortality. Our real nature is pure consciousness, which is immortal, which is already Amrita. But we have a wrong notion by which we identify ourselves with this body and mind. And so we say, I'm dying, because when the body is dying, because we identify with the body, we are saying, I'm going to die. By the mind keeps changing, and we identify with the mind wrongly and say, I keep changing. And the Jivatma goes from birth to birth, birth to death to birth to death. Punarapi Janam, Punarapi Maranam is gone through by the Jivatma. And we wrongly identify ourselves with the Jivatma and say, I go through cycles of birth and death and I want to get out of this samsara, we say. Now, Gita is going to tell us, you are not this physical body, you are not the mind, you are not the Jivatma, you are the Pratyag Atma, the pure consciousness. And by clearly telling us this knowledge, by giving us this knowledge and helping us to absorb this knowledge, Gita is going to give us immortality, which is our real nature, which is our own real nature. Gita is going to give it back to us. So that is how Gita is going to give us Amrita. Now, the Gita is giving us Amrita, and Krishna is the giver of that Gita. So Gita Amrita Duhe Namaha. So Krishna is giving us this Gita Amrita, and we bow down to him. Namaha. Right? So this is the meaning of this Dhyana Shloka. So we are going to get immortality, or we are going to realize our own inherent eternal nature of immortality. We are going to realize that, and that is going to be given by Krishna as the Guru, and we are going to attain that by This threefold yoga, karma yoga, prapanna parijataya, then dhyana yoga or raja yoga, which is totra vetraika panaye, and jnana yoga, which is indicated by jnana mudra, right? So this way, and bhakti yoga, because we are involving Krishna all through. This way, all the four yogas are covered in this shloka. And by these four yogas, an integral approach, by applying all these four yogas together, we are going to attain, or we are going to realize our own immortal nature. So this is the essence of this entire Gita, and we are going to look into this. Okay. So this is the approach of Gita, very beautifully explained in the Dhyana Shloka. So now we will see why we should study Bhagavad Gita. Different people have got different reasons. We will look at some of the reasons why we should study Bhagavad Gita. Even if you are convinced, there will be others who ask you this question, and different people might have different answers which will convince them. So you should have your own answer also, and you should also have like a convincing answer for others also. So why should you study Bhagavad Gita? Now, to know a perspective of life. Now, if all of us have a perspective of life. What do you mean by perspective of life? Who am I? What is my relationship with this body? What is my relationship with this mind? What is this world? What is my relationship with this world? Who are the people around me? What is my relationship with all these people? And who is God? And what is my relationship with God? What is the goal of life? What is the purpose of life? How to attain the purpose of life? Now, all these things is what is called as perspective of life. Now, all of us have a perspective of life which gradually develops, improves over a period of time. And each of us is different from each other because we have a different perspective of life. It is called Shraddha. Our Shraddha is different, right? Each of us have a different belief system, a different ideology, a different perspective of life, which gradually over a period of time keeps developing. Now, Gita gives a perspective of life based on the Veda. Gita is a summary of the Veda, right? So the Vedas, the Upanishads are a part of the Veda, and Gita covers the entire knowledge from the Vedas, and the Upanishads are covered in the Gita. So Gita presents very beautifully the perspective of life according to the Veda, Vedanta, and all our acharyas. And by knowing that, we can gradually align our perspective of life with the Vedic perspective of life, and that will give us freedom. Okay, that is what is called as moksha. Aligning our perspective of life along with the Vedic perspective of life, and thereby becoming free from, completely free from sorrow, identifying ourselves with the pure consciousness, that is called as moksha. So moksha is basically aligning our perspective of life with the Vedantic perspective. And Gita helps us to do that and manifesting that in everyday life. Okay. Another way to look at Gita is that it is a conversation between two successful kings when one of them wanted some guidance, right? So Arjuna was a great successful king. He had gone all over the Bharata Desha and conquered and formed alliance, friendly alliance where possible, and conquered where not possible. And he had formed alliance with the entire Bharata Desha, and he came back, and so that Yudhishthira could do Rajasuya Yaga. So he's a very, very successful king. And Krishna is another successful king, very, very revered for his diplomacy, for his knowledge, wisdom, and no one can defeat him in war, no one can defeat him in strategy. He is another successful king. So the two topmost successful kings in Bharata Desha at that time, they had a conversation when one of the kings, the younger one, he had a problem in life. He wanted some guidance to decide, and he took counseling from Krishna. the other successful king. And this dialogue, this counseling session between two kings is recorded as the Gita. It is like, the top people of today's world. Let us say, for example, if you say who are the top people, let us say, uh, you know, uh, like Steve Jobs wanted something. Actually, like this actually happened. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he wanted some counseling, and he went and approached Steve Jobs and asked him for counsel. Or you can even take today, like for example, let us say our Yogi Adityanath ji, he wants some help in some political matter, and he goes and approaches Narendra Modi or Amit Shah, and then asks them some questions, and they answer his questions, and that is recorded. So that way, like the top people in the world at that time, when they were conversing, this is a record of that, right? So this is entirely about life. What is life? What is the meaning of life? How to lead a good life? What is the purpose of life? All these things are discussed in the Gita, right? Now, it is relevant to all of us because after some success in life, right, worldly pleasures and possessions, they lose their significance. Beyond a certain extent, right, money and pleasure, they will start losing their luster, and at that time a new reason will be needed to live and work in this world. So they what is called as famously called as the midlife crisis. Now for every person in life, a midlife crisis will come where you will want to change some direction, you will need some reason to work in this world. What should I achieve in this world? Once you have achieved the basic things. And Gita, exactly was Arjuna's condition when he approached Krishna. So when we hit there, Gita is going to be the savior. It is going to guide us. And also, every thinking person at some point of time will have to answer these questions for himself. These questions of the life, what is the purpose of life, what is life, who am I, these questions will arise in the mind of any thinking person, not only religious people, not only people on the spiritual path. Every thinking person will face this question, and a person has to answer this question for himself. And you cannot go and dig a well when the house is on fire. So better we study the Gita now only and understand the various perspectives that Gita gives, which will help us to discover our own purpose in life. And Gita is the philosophical and practical foundation of Hinduism. All kinds of philosophies, all kinds of concepts that are in modern Hinduism, which is based on Vedanta, is discussed in the Gita. And all the different kinds of spiritual sadhanas are found, the foundation is there in the Gita. So whether it is the philosophical and theoretical concepts or all this practical sadhanas, everything is there in the Gita. So that way, Gita is both the philosophical and practical foundation of Hinduism. So if we want to follow a spiritual life, or if we want to follow a religious life, or even if we just want to understand what is Hinduism, what is Indian culture, here Gita is the foundation of Indian culture. So we need to understand that as Indian citizens. And Gita has been the manual of life for several great saints and thinkers for centuries. So it is a time tested manual of life, right? Several people, both saints and also great secular thinkers, right? They all have been using Gita as their manual of life, both in India and abroad. So many people have been using this Gita as a manual of life. So it is better that we also get a good understanding of what the Gita says so that we can use it in our life. It's a very, very practical book, very relevant for everyone, whether a person leads a spiritual life or even if a person who wants to attain some success even in this world. Okay. So the approach that we will follow here is what is called as a top-down approach. Okay. So this is something which is promoted and I learned from my teacher, Swami Paramarthanandji. And so he always promotes that you should have a top-down approach to study the Gita or Vedanta or whatever. Okay. It's all the same. So what we will do is we will first understand the overall message and get a map of what is there in the Gita. So the overall message, already I have started with that. Even in the Dhyana Shloka itself, the entire Gita teaching is covered. And that is all that is the Gita teaching, right? Who am I? I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not the Jivatma. I am pure consciousness. And how to manifest that in our life? Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Now, that is the core message of the Gita. That is a summary, right? Now, as we go along, we will be expanding that slowly, gradually. Like suppose if you want to go on a Chardham pilgrimage. Now, what do? We take the map, we see, okay, where is Gangotri, where is Yamunotri, and where is Badrinath, where is Kedarnath, and how to go. Okay, you go to Rishikesh, and from Rishikesh, you go, first you cover left to right, so which means you go to Yamunotri, then you go to Gangotri, like, so the whole map, first we see what are the different points, right? What are the places? And then we read about those places and we see how to reach those places. So that is the message and map we do. But then we don't stop there. Then we go and travel and go and visit all those places and we follow that. So that is the approach here also. First, we will understand overall what does Gita say, what are the messages, what is the roadmap, what does it say, and then go for the practical approach also, right? So that is the top-down approach which we will follow. Now, on the way, we will have to understand some core concepts and categories, right? What are the four Purusharthas? What are the Panchakoshas? What are the four yogas? Like this, we will be understanding different concepts and categories, which are the basics of Vedanta. And to cover these concepts and categories, we will take 11 shlokas and we'll go through those 11 shlokas and understand them. So that way, like, the introduction to study of Gita is through Gita itself. Like Paramarthanandji, he follows a slightly different approach. He uses Tattva Bodha to have an introduction to Vedanta. And here, what we will do is we will cover the same topics which is covered in Tattva Bodha, but we will use Gita shlokas to cover those topics. Okay. So mainly these are the three things, right? We will cover that using Gita shlokas. So for that, a set of 11 shlokas are picked up, and that is what we chanted at the beginning of the class. So that way, if you chant that every day, it will be a good recollection of the class, and also it will be an introduction to what is going to come in the class. The meaning is also given in that sheet, so you can print that sheet and you can chant every day. Now, after covering these 11 shlokas, the 15th and 12th chapters are what we will cover, but this we won't be able to cover in the current series. So Anand Maharaj is traveling for 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks, which is 12 classes, we will take about 1 to 1.5 hours each class. So in this 12 classes, we'll be able to cover these 11 shlokas. And then in future, we will take up another series where we will cover the 15th chapter, and then another series where we will cover the 12th chapter. So if you want to study on your own also, you can study the 15th chapter and 12th chapter after these 11 shlokas. 15th chapter covers all the theoretical concepts in the Gita, and the 12th chapter covers all the practical aspects in the Gita. So 15th chapter is theory, 12th chapter is practice. So that way, like, the next level of Gita study will be 15th chapter and 12th chapter. And also, like, I have collected a set of 40 shlokas which cover different topics. So those can be taken up now and then, like whenever we have some opportunity, we can take up some of those shlokas. If you want to study the Gita, this is the recommended uh, order of studying. As I told you, 15th chapter, 12th chapter. Then you can study 9, 6, and 3, right? So ninth chapter is also Bhakti Yoga, Rajavidya, Rajaguhya Yoga. Sixth is Dhyana Yoga. Third is Karma Yoga. So that way it will give you one more level of depth in understanding the Gita. If you want to go still further, you can go for 7, 17 to 18, 13, and then you can go for the rest of the shlokas. So this is kind of a recommended order of studying in case you want to pick up and study. Anyway, this PDF file you will get, so you can explore what is there and you can see. Now, how to study the Gita? So I would recommend that you get a book which contains the word by word meaning. So this is Swami Swarupanandaji's book, published by Ramakrishna Math. This is a very good book. So it was published, I think, in 1906 or 1905. And Swami Swarupanandaji was Swami Vivekananda's disciple. And so this is one of the first Gita books published in English. And now when you study the Gita, you should have a prayerful attitude to Gita as the mother, right? So Gita is the mother, right? There is one of the Dhyana shlokas says, Ambatvam Anusandatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavad Veshinim, right? Like the prayer to Gita as the mother who gives the knowledge. So when we study the Gita, like some concept or some shloka or some idea, you might not be able to accept it in the first time. So when you are not able to accept a concept, what we should understand is, okay, maybe we have misunderstood it. We are missing something. That is why we are not able to accept it. So instead of rejecting it all through, you can kind of say, okay, how should I understand it so that I can accept it? So that way, if you approach it, then you will be able to understand the Gita, right? And always read the original Sanskrit in any script that is accurate. Okay. So because the original word has its own charm, and every shloka of the Gita is a mantra, as it were. So if you study the original Sanskrit, then it will start giving more deeper meanings layer after layer by itself. Okay. So translation, you read to just understand what this means at a cursory level, and you can read commentaries to understand in depth, but then read the original Sanskrit, that to read aloud. Okay. You have to read aloud. Reading in the mind is not enough, because you have to use what I call as multi-sensory learning, right? When you chant aloud, you listen to the shloka in your own voice. That gives you a much more depth of familiarity with the shloka. So read aloud and read the Anvaya also, like the word by word split form, and recognize the words, because most of the words in Sanskrit are familiar to anyone who knows Indian languages. Most of us, our mother tongue is some Indian language or the other. So almost all the nouns are already familiar to us. So almost all the nouns we will already know. So when you take the Anvaya, you will be able to recognize the words, and you will be able to know the meaning and go for the word by word meaning, and then go for understand the case, like the Vibhakti, the Karaka also. If you understand, then that much you will be able to easily understand. So you can learn a lot of Sanskrit just by understanding Gita word by word. Okay, so that is the approach that you should follow. And read aloud the full shloka with the right pronunciation and memorize the shloka. We are just taking up 11 shlokas, so memorize these 11 shlokas. So whatever you study, you memorize it, because when you memorize it, then it will get into your memory, and that will get into your subconscious mind, and your mind will continue to ponder over the meaning even when you are not aware of it. That is called manana. right? So manana will happen only when you memorize the shloka, right? So you know the word by word meaning and memorize the shloka with the understanding of the word by word meaning by chanting it aloud. So that way, the shloka, you become very familiar with the shloka. And when you do this, then the shloka will start revealing layers and layers of meaning to you beyond what you can find in any books. You will find more meaning to the shloka because you have a direct connection to the shloka now, right? And chant slowly, mentally thinking about the meaning. And whenever you study any shloka, any Gita shloka, you look for patterns, right? Because most of the Gita shlokas will be based on the concepts which we are going to discuss here. And we will be discussing all these patterns, these categories. And this will be a good foundation for you to study any Gita shloka, even what is not covered in this course. Okay. So when we understand these 11 shlokas which are covered here, you will become familiar with all these categories and the basics of Vedanta, by which you will be able to understand any Vedantic text or any Vedantic scripture and any shloka in the Gita, you will be able to easily understand, right? You will have the foundation. So that is the objective of this course. Okay. And this is the list of verses. So these 11 verses we will cover in this series, which we chanted now. And then, as I told you, after that, when you want to continue your Gita study, you can go with the 20 shlokas in 15th chapter, then 20 shlokas in 12th chapter. After that, there are 10 shlokas of Karma Yoga selected here, 10 shlokas of Dhyana Yoga selected, then Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Sadhana Panchakam. So these another 40 shlokas are there selected here, which you can take it up for further your study. Right. So once you are familiar with these shlokas which are here, right? So 11 here, 40 here. So overall about 90 shlokas. Some repetitions are there. So about 80 shlokas you will be able to be very familiar with. That will give you a very good strong foundation of the Gita. Like at least you will know what is there in the Gita, what is the message of the Gita, and the major important shlokas you will be familiar with, right? So this is the top down approach which I talked about. So that is what we will follow. And what is the expected outcome? Like mainly you will have answers to the questions. At least you will know what is Gita's answers to the basic questions. What is the purpose of life? What is the difference between animals and human beings? Right? What is the purpose of human beings in this universe? Like who are you as an individual, right? And what are the real things that matter at the end of life, right? What is life about? Who is God? Who is Ishvara? What is the relationship between Ishvara and the world? And what is the relationship between Ishvara and the individual? Like, what is my relationship with God, right? Why do good people sometimes face tough situations? And what is success in life, right? So, all these kind of questions, you will have some clarity, and you will have clarity on what is the Vedantic perspective, what is the perspective of the Vedic vision, what is the perspective of Veda, what is the perspective of Gita on these questions. So you will have a clear understanding, and you will also have a good daily routine to follow, right? The practical aspects of it. So this is the expected outcome out of this whole series. So and and okay, so let us stop here. Any questions any of you have? Okay, so let me do one thing. I will. Mm, yeah. So whoever has a question, you can turn on your microphone and you can ask.
Okay, I have a question, Google Madhu. This is
Hmm.
Vishwatosh.
Yes.
Okay, you had mentioned that all the Hindu philosophies, whatever we have, you can
Hmm.
find a reference of that in the Gita, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I was wondering, we have the Tantra Vidya, right, where
Hmm.
there is a lot of difference from the Vedas. For example,
Hmm.
they believe in Shakti, they don't believe in Maya, they believe in the reality of the world and all. Do you also see a reference of that in the Gita of the Tantra?
Yeah. See, the core objective is the same. It is just the difference. The difference is just the path. Okay. And so whatever, and another thing is the terminologies. The same concepts, same ideas, different philosophies, different margas, like different schools will have different terminologies. But otherwise, the core is essentially the same. So even if you take tantra, right, like we will see, like as we go along, I will also refer to the parallels, like the Rudra Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, right, Rudra Granthi, Brahma Granthi, right, the chakras, like like they're all parallel to Vedanta, and as a person progresses in any of the margas, automatically the progress happens because ultimately it is all the same. Finally, you are going to reach the same place, and also the path also, most of the milestones are also the same. So it is just the way, or the method is different. So you will see that, like ultimately, like all of them uh, point to the same thing, and even the path also has a lot of overlap.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So
Gokul
yeah,
Sridhar here.
yes, Sridhar.
Yeah. So if we have to introduce Bhagavad Gita to kids, how do we do that? How do
Hmm.
we start?
First
What's your
thing is, yeah, first thing is we have to study, because unless we study, we cannot introduce it to children. Okay. So we have to study, we have to chant, and we have so once we are familiar with chanting, then we can ask our children also to chant together with us, and we can teach our children also to chant. So for children, initially, don't worry too much about meaning and all. So get them to chant, like these 11 shlokas you can chant, or the 15th chapter, 12th chapter. So usually 12th chapter is what is used for all these Gita chanting competitions and all. So if you want to start chanting, first you can study the 12th chapter, how to chant. There are so many videos on YouTube already available. So you can study how to chant. You can familiarize yourself with chanting. Then you can teach your children how to chant the 12th chapter. So that is the good way to start.
right? Go. So this is probably for smaller children. If we have teenage children, and think, how do we introduce that?
Yeah, like see, there is this Gita for Children book is there. I think Anita Pai, or I forgot her name. That's a good book. Or Chinmayananda Mission has got one Gita for children, right? There is an Amarchitra Katha of Gita. So you can give these to the children. But see, for children, mainly what they will look for is stories. So better to introduce first stories and chanting, and slowly they'll be able to correlate uh, the concepts with the stories. But main thing is first we need to study. Only then we can inspire our children to study.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Homo sir, Srimai here.
Yes, Srini.
I just had a question that there's sometimes a gap which happens. We often really understand the significance of a shloka or a teaching, but at the right moment, sometimes we're able to do it, and sometimes we're not able to do it. Sometimes I sometimes I feel that, oh, if I had just remembered this thing at this point, my response would have been different. So does this come from being able to do the right thing at the right time more consistently? Does that come from manana kind of thing, or just
Yeah.
abhyasa practically, or what would you think? And great talk, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So basically, like Arjuna asks the same question to Krishna. He says, like, I know all the theory, but then at the right, at the nick of the moment, I don't do things, and people do, wrong things, like against what is right, what they know is right. So, and also he says, like, how to control the mind. So everywhere, the solution is very simple. Like Krishna says, Viveka and Abhyasa. Okay. Viveka is you think about it deeply and have an intellectual conviction, and you keep strengthening your intellectual conviction by continued analysis, right? So, like, what is right? Why is it right? What are the pros and cons? What will happen if I don't follow this? What will happen if I do the wrong thing? Like, first, intellectually, think about it, give enough thought to it, and be 100% convinced intellectually. Then the second comes is abhyasa, habit, right? So you have to develop the right samskara, which is basically the right habits. So where first thing is where you know what is right, and where you remember what is the right thing to do the right thing. Knowingly, don't do something wrong. Okay. So wherever you have full clarity, follow what is right, right? Follow and don't do what you know is wrong. Then slowly, like, that will become as a habit. So you have to do these two things. One is build up a strong intellectual conviction, and second thing is build up the habit gradually. So this is called viveka and abhyasa. So these are the two pronged approach to affect any improvement in our life.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll we will continue. So at the end of every session, we will chant Om Shanti thrice. Okay, so though we will continue for another half an hour today, but I just want to introduce to you so that, like, we know why we are chanting, right? So when we say Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi, right, we need to understand what it means. So Om is the sound symbol of Ishvara. Okay. So we will see in the Gita also who is Ishvara. So the answer is Ishvara is that person who identifies himself with this entire universe. Okay. So everything that exists, a manifestation of Ishvara. So Ishvara is the whole, the entire, right? Like the infinite or the universal set, right? That is what is Ishvara. He is everything. There is nothing that exists other than Ishvara. Right? There is nothing that exists other than Ishvara. He is the entirety in all aspects. So, Om is the symbol of Ishvara because Om indicates that. What is Om? Om is a combination of three sounds: A, U, and Okay. So, A, U, and Now, this covers the entire human vocal tract. If you look at the human sound producing system, right, the most basic sound is ah, right? When you just say ah, it becomes ah. Then from the middle of the whole system is U, right? In the tongue, the middle of the tongue, U. And is at the end of the vocal system, at the lips. So Om covers the entire human vocal tract, right from A, U, it is kind of covers the entire sound. So that way, it symbolically it indicates all the sounds that a human being can possibly make. So Om symbolically indicates all the sounds that any human being can make is covered in Om. And that is why the Om is the best symbol for Ishvara, because Ishvara is the same concept in the universe. The entire universe, everything, right? The totality of the entire universe is what we mean by Ishvara. Now, what better symbol of Ishvara we can have than Om, which is basically covers all the sounds a human being can make. So the best sound symbol for Ishvara is Om because of this correlation, right? Om is covers all the sounds that we can make, and similarly, Ishvara is all that exists, right? So that is why Om is the symbol of Ishvara. And we say Shanti 3 times because there are 3 possible obstacles which we can have in all our pursuits. Okay. So they are called Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika. So Adhyatmika is self-created problems, right? Which we have to solve it ourselves only. Adibhautika is problems which come because of competition with other living beings, right? And Adidaivika is unforeseen, unavoidable problems. So these are the 3 kinds of problems which can come. I'll give you an example. Now, suppose, let us say, you want to go to the ashram and attend one lecture. Okay, you want to take your car and you want to drive to the ashram and you want to attend one lecture. Now, these 3 problems can happen. One problem is halfway through your journey, you might run out of petrol or diesel, run out of fuel, right? Now, what kind of problem is it? It is an Adhyatmika problem. Why? Because the indicator has been showing that the fuel is empty, that the tank is empty, the fuel gauge was there, which was showing and which was beeping also for quite a few days. Now, you were ignoring it, and so at the critical moment, it has stopped. Now, this is a self-created problem, right? Now, you should have been careful. Moment the indicator shows that the fuel is going to be empty, you should have gone and filled it up. So it is a self-created problem. It is your own problem. Because of your own negligence, this problem happens. So like this, lot of problems which we face will be Adhyatmika problems, which are our own, because of our own negligence, these problems are there. The second type of problem which can happen is you are going on the road, you are in a car, and there's huge traffic jam, right? This is a Adibhautika problem because you going to your destination is in conflict with someone else going to their destination. Each person has their own goal, right? They have their own destinations, they have their own goals. But unfortunately, the roads cross, right? You going to your goal is crossing, they going to their goal. So they look upon you as a competitor, and because of that, like, there is a conflict. This is a Adibhautika problem. So where you have to negotiate for a win-win, right? You can take an alternate route. That is why we have traffic signals. Traffic signals are basically to solve Adibhautika problem. right? So it is time sliced. So for 1 minute, you people go. For another minute, then let the other people go. For another next 1 minute, let these people go. So that way, like, you manage so that everyone can reach their goals, right? So that way, you will have adibhautika problems where people look upon you as competitors and they look at you that you are not letting them reach their goal. So you have to negotiate and say, okay, fine, I will let you reach your goal, you let me reach my goal, right? So that is a way to solve adibhautika problems. Then there will be adidaivika problem, right? You are going in the car and suddenly halfway through you get a flat tire, right? Now it is an unforeseen, unavoidable problem because of our own past karma. It's basically because of our own prarabdha only. It is called adidaivika problem. Now we cannot avoid it. We cannot even foresee it. And we only have to have mitigation plans. We should ensure that we have stepney which has got air full, right, at all times, so that if there is a problem we can, or like, if okay, you park the car at the side and you take an auto and go, or somehow we have to manage the situation. It cannot be avoided. We have to only ensure that we have the plan B, we have alternate plans, so that if it happens, we don't get affected too badly. We will get affected, but we can reduce the impact. Right? This is called Adidaivika problem. So any activity that we pursue, we will have these three kinds of problems: Adhyatmika problem, Adibhautika problem, Adidaivika problem. And we pray to the Lord to give us the strength and the wisdom to solve these problems. Okay, problems will come. Okay, so we have to face them, solve them, avoid them, do whatever is there in our capacity we need to do. So here we pray to the Lord to give us the wisdom, presence of mind, strength, and tenacity, resilience to face and solve these three problems. Right. So we say Om Shanti 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 Hi for that. Right. So this is the meaning. So this we will chant at the end of every class. Like we will not have an elaborate end chant. We will just have only this simple one. Okay. So today we have more time. Time is 8:04. Now maybe we can take another 10-15 minutes more, right? And we will get to the next topic, so that we have a lot to cover. So we will continue. Right? So the next shloka we have picked up in this series is a prayer by Arjuna. Right? So it's a very familiar thing, right? So I will chant. You can repeat. कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यत् श्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. So this is the shloka which made Krishna the Parthasarathi into Krishna the Jagadguru. Right? So there are so many Pandavas, like Dharma is known, Yudhishthira is known for his great dharmic nature. Bhishma was great bhakta. Vidura was there. Right? So many people were there. But why did Krishna choose Arjuna to give the Gita teaching? Simple answer, because Arjuna asked for it. Right? Through this shloka, Arjuna asked Krishna to help him. So because of this shloka is what Krishna became the Jagat Guru, and he taught Gita, keeping Arjuna as the context. He taught Gita to us. Now, there is a lot for us to learn from this prayer of Arjuna. Now, Arjuna, as we saw, he is a very successful king. He has great success in his life. So, obviously, he could not have attained all that success unless he has worked hard and very enthusiastic. And that is what we see here. So, at this crucial moment, Arjuna is overcome by a sense of misery, depression. Why? Because Arjuna is very sure that he will win the battle. That is not his problem. In the first chapter, if you see, very beautifully Vyasacharya shows contrasting Duryodhana and Arjuna. Duryodhana also goes to Dronacharya and then says, see, these people are there, these people are there on our side, these people are there on other side, and then he talks to Drona. And Arjuna also talks to Krishna. There are two dialogues which are happening in the first chapter, one between Duryodhana and Dronacharya, and other between Arjuna and Krishna. And Duryodhana is very confident that he will lose the battle. Arjuna is very confident that they will win the war. Okay. Duryodhana is confident they will lose the war. Arjuna is confident they will win the war. And because of that, Duryodhana goes and talks to Drona and says, see, we are going to lose this war. We don't have enough thing. We are, even though numerically we have more people, but then like our side is not strong at all, whereas the other side is very strong. That is what Duryodhana says. He is afraid. His fear is very much visible in the dialogue between Duryodhana and Drona. And Duryodhana is afraid because he will lose the war. Now, Arjuna also talks to Krishna, and here also you can find fear. Arjuna is also afraid. But Arjuna is afraid because he will win the war. He is sure he will win the war. Because already the same army Arjuna has already defeated when they were in Ajnanavasa with Uttarakumara as the charioteer. Arjuna already, fought this very same Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, Karna, all these people, and he won the war for Virata Desa. Now, this whole army already he has defeated once. So it is not difficult for him to win this war at all. Now he also has Bhima on his side, Krishna as a charioteer, and so many other people are there. Sikandi, Drishtadyumna, so many great Drupada, so many great warriors are there. So this war is a very, very easy war for Arjuna. But he is worried about the kind of death and the kind of destruction which is going to come because of this war. Because unlike the other war, this war is a do or die war, right? People are going to fight till their death. So Arjuna is afraid of the success he is going to get on the destruction that is going to happen. So that is Arjuna's fear. So Duryodhana is afraid of losing, Arjuna is afraid of winning, right? Both of them know already, like they know what is going to happen, right? So here Arjuna says, my swabhava, right? My swabhava, right, is upahata, has been overcome. So what is Arjuna's swabhava? He says, my swabhava is to be enthusiastic, cheerful, and full of vigor and ready for action. That is my swabhava. But my swabhava has been overcome temporarily by a karpanya dosha, by a pitiable condition. My nature has been overcome by a pitiable condition. Now, whenever we have a problem, if we have this attitude, the problem is already half solved. So suppose we have a problem, the first thing we need to recognize is the problem is an unnatural temporary state. Whenever we have a problem, the first thing we should do is to brand the problem as an unnatural temporary status. So the moment you give a temporary unnatural state to the problem is half solved, right? It is. So the natural state is not to have problem. this problem is in temporary state, which I know I will overcome it. So here Arjuna says, I am confused. Why he is having this problem? He says, I am confused. Confusion between what? Dharma, adharma. Sammudha. Sammudha means confusion. My cheta, my intellect is confused. Confusion between what is right and what is wrong. What is dharma, what is adharma. That confusion I am having. I am not clear what is right, what is wrong. And because of that, I am asking you. Right? Prichami tvam. Now, fine. So, what is Arjuna asking? He says, Yat Shreyah Syat Nishchitam Bruhi. He is not asking Krishna to solve the problem. He is not asking Krishna, hey Krishna, these Kauravas are there, please finish them off. Please fight them. Give me success. Right? He is not asking Krishna to fight for him. He asks Krishna, Krishna, I am having a confusion. Clarify my confusion and I will do my duty. Arjuna is ready to do the fighting for himself. He is only asking for intellectual clarity. Right? So this is how we should approach people for help. I have done my homework. I have tried to solve this problem. I am not able to. I am confused. So I am missing something. Please clarify what I am missing. Please give me the intellectual clarification. And I am willing to do the homework. I am willing to go and do whatever is necessary and proceed further. I just want an intellectual clarity. So the minimum help he is asking, right? So that is the way we should always ask for help. We should not put the entire burden on the person coming to help. We should take help as minimum as possible. And we should do our homework. We should be willing to do whatever is needed. And then people will be very, very willing to help us, right? So the way Arjuna is asking for help is so beautiful, right? He says, I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do whatever is needed. I just need to know what is right. I'm having in confusion. Please clarify my confusion, right? So this is exactly what the Gayatri mantra is about, right? It just says, Diyo yonav prachodayat. Enlighten our intellect so that we can know what is right, what is wrong, and then rest of it we will do, right? So this is exactly the meaning of this shloka is exactly the same as the meaning of the Gayatri mantra. He says, Sishyaste aham shadimam tvam prapannam. I surrender to you. I am your disciple. Please teach me, right? So this is a very beautiful prayer of Arjuna, which is worthy of remembering, and even we also can pray to the Lord with the same prayer, right? And even when we seek help from others, right, we can have this attitude of this way of seeking help, right? It's a very great big lesson for all of us. How to seek help, how to pray, right? So this is a very beautiful prayer. Karpanya dosho upahatasvabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yat shreyah syat nishchitam bruhitanme shishyaste aham shadimam tvam prapanna. Okay. So he is asking for what is shreyas. This is again a very important word, shreyas. What is right? See, Kathopanishad, if you see, like it introduces these two concepts called shreyas and preyas. Whenever we look at this situation, we evaluate the situation in two ways: likes and dislikes, or shreyas and preyas, right? Or right and wrong. So let us say, for example, like tomorrow we have to get up early and attend one class, and tonight there is a IPL cricket match. If I watch the cricket match live, I won't be able to wake up early. Now we have this conflict. Now, whenever we have a situation, there will always be one thing, one decision based on likes and dislikes, right? Okay, I like to watch the match, right? Which is a short-term pleasure, which will give a short-term pleasure. And there will be another option, which is based on the long-term benefit, which is called Shreyas. The short-term one is called Preyas. The long-term one is called Shreyas. What is right and what is wrong, right? That is based on a long-term perspective. So whenever there is a conflict between a short-term benefit and a long-term benefit, always choose the long-term benefit. always choose Shreyas over Preyas. This is what Kathopanishad discusses in a few shlokas, few mantras in the there. So the same thing here, Arjuna uses the word Shreyaha, right? Tell so Arjuna is not asking for a convenient solution. He is not asking for something which is, a short-term benefit. He is looking for a long-term benefit. He said, like, tell me what is right, what is good for me in the long term. That is what I am interested in, right? He is asking for what is Shreyas, what is Shreyaha, right? So that is an important idea in the Gita. So Gita always says, like, the difference between what is right and what is wrong is just in terms of the time duration. So there's a very beautiful shloka in the Gita, which says that which is like poison in the short term, but nectar in the long term, that is good. That which is like nectar in the short term, but poison in the long term, that is bad. So that is how good and bad, right and wrong are classified, right? So here, this is what Krishna says. So a good quick knowledge check on what we discussed so far. So why did Krishna choose Arjuna over the others? Because Arjuna asked for it, right? And what accomplishments of Arjuna already we saw. He had already conquered the entire India, and he even went and spent some time in Swargaloka as a prince, as the son of Indra also, right? So he had accomplished everything. And what is Arjuna's prayer to Krishna? Arjuna is praying to Krishna to give intellectual clarity, right? So Arjuna is willing to do the work. He says, give me, clarify my intellect. That is what is Arjuna's prayer. What is prayas and what is Shreyas? We saw, right? Prayas is based on likes and dislikes. Shreyas is based on right and wrong. What is the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra? We saw, right? Enlighten our intellect so that can make the right decision and we will do the work. So that is Gayatri Mantra, and the same meaning is what is in this shloka also, right? So, any questions? Let me. So, if you have any questions, we can turn on the microphone and you can ask.
Hi, Guru. Jai
Yeah.
Shri Ram Krishna.
Yeah.
I have one question. You mentioned that there are three things, right? Adi, Daivika, Adi, Bhautika. So, in the Adi, Daivika part, that is not in my control. And all the prarabdha karma, what I have done, I have to definitely face that.
Yes.
My question is there a way to nullify by doing good karmas? Is it possible to nullify that and I will not face those? Or is it like if by doing good karma, the impact of that will be reduced for me?
Yes. So you have answered your own question. So by good karma, the impact will be reduced. Like the Holy Mother says, if you have to have a big cut and almost lose your leg, by doing spiritual sadhana, it can be reduced to that extent that just a small thorn will prick your leg. Like to that extent, it can be mitigated, right? So the way to mitigate is, you do spiritual sadhana, you do social service, right? And then you do nama japa. These are all ways to mitigate the prarabdha karma, right? So let us say if you have a prarabdha karma that you have to spend 1 lakh on medical expense, right? Suppose there is a prarabdha karma that you have to spend 1 lakh for medical expenditure. Now, you can avoid falling sick by donating 1 lakh to a charitable dispensary, right? If that is your prarabdha karma, then it will get satisfied by your donation instead of you falling sick and spending on a doctor, right? By giving donation, it will get taken care, because we don't know what is our prarabdha karma, right? We don't know our prarabdha till it strikes. So we better involve in charity and social service and all that, so that all those prarabdha karma will get taken care of in more milder and easier ways, right? And nama japa, right? keep chanting the name of the Lord, and that will weaken the prarabdha karma. That's what our scriptures say, right?
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
So what is the definition of good karma here? Like, so sometimes what happens, a person thinks that what I'm doing is correct, but it may not be ethical, or it may not be right to the society, or to himself, right? So how we will define a good karma in a broader sense?
See, Gita gives a very simple, what is called as the golden rule, right? So, Atma upamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramam matah, right? Atma upamyena sarvatra. Have you as your as an example, right? Atma upamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham. So, if someone does something to you and it will give you sukha, then that is good. If the same thing, if someone does to you and you will feel dukkha, then that is not good. Don't do to others, right? Compare yourself with others. Do unto others what you want others to do to you, right? And don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you, right? This is called the golden rule, a simple thing. And Gita also gives another standard. It says, you know, first thing, basic thing, whatever it says in the 16th chapter, it says like whatever is based on the Shastra, right? What is good and bad is decided from what is there in the Shastra. And then Arjuna asks, okay, what about if you don't know the Shastra, then how do we decide? Then Krishna gives a big list of the entire 17th chapter is based on that answer to that question. So if you see, basically, like Krishna says, see, whatever gives the maximum benefit to maximum number of people you do. That is one way. Or another way is like whatever you have done, can you go and stand in front of the Lord and proudly say, oh Lord, I did this, right? If you cannot say, then don't do, right? So basically, like whatever you are, if you have a decision to make, right? Whatever, if you say, I want to do this or that, you can say, okay, which choice if I take, I can, after doing that, I can go and stand in front of the Lord or your mother or someone whom you revere and say, see, I did this. Proudly, can you tell? Now, if you say like, no, I would not be able to do that, then don't do that, right? So do only things which will, by which you can proudly go and stand in front of the Lord and say, oh Lord, I did this, right? That is another, what do you call, another measuring rod. Another one Krishna gives in the 18th chapter, as what I told you just now, right? That which is, which gives pleasure in the beginning, but long term, if it is not giving good benefits, then don't do it. That is bad. But even if it is going to put you some inconvenience now, but in the long term, if it is going to give good benefit, then you go ahead and do it. That Shreyas and Preyas, right? That is another measure. And in the 18th chapter, no, 18th to 17th chapter, I think, yeah, 18th chapter only, he gives another measure about the agent. He says that if you are doing whatever action you do, if it is going to increase the body identification of yourself and others, then that is bad. Okay. And if it is going to decrease the body identity, and if it is going to increase your identity as a jivatma for you and for others, then that is better. And if it is going to help you and others identify as pure consciousness, that is best. That is another very, very subtle and very, that is the final core identity, like core, that which is going to help you to disidentify from the body and mind and identify yourself as the jivatma and eventually as pure consciousness. That is what is good. Okay. That is why, like, if a person is hungry, the body identity will increase. So that is why Annadana is good, because by doing Annadana, you are helping a person to forget his body. Like same thing with the medical help also, right? When a person is ill, when a person is sick, or he's in pain, like you cannot forget the body. So by giving medical aid to people, by serving sick people, you are helping them to forget the body. And then like education, by education you can help a person to not identify with the body and identify as a thinking and feeling human being, right? And then comes the moral education, where you identify yourself with the jivatma, right, which is still higher. And then the spiritual knowledge, which helps you to identify yourself as pure consciousness, which is the highest. So the gradation in karma is based on whether it is based on your what identity it is based on for you, and what identity it enhances to the other people. Based on that, the gradation of karma comes. These are all explained in the Gita. So there is one article on my blog called Deciding Between Right and Wrong According to Gita. You can read that article. So all these ideas and even many more ideas are also mentioned in that. Deciding in that practicalphilosophy.in, there's a search box where you can search for deciding between right and wrong. Then you can access that article.
Okay. Thanks, Siddharth.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, so we will end today. We will chant Om Shanti 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 and we will end. We can chant together. You can be on mute and you can chant. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishnarpanamastu.